In the beginning. I know we've heard this before, but this time it doesn't come from the beginning of Genesis. It comes from the New Testament, in the fourth gospel, the Gospel of John. And it points to a person who was sent to fix the problem of evil from the garden, to save us like Noah, and so that God could be with us rather than us having to build a tower to reach him. This week, we pause from the Old Testament and jump thousands of years forward to the Gospels. Things weren't going well, and if we're honest with ourselves, we've kind of made a mess of things. If we keep reading the book of Genesis, we actually, really the rest of the Old Testament, we realize this cycle of God's redemption and man's sin, and God's redemption and man's sin, and so on and so on. It finally continues until God sends Jesus to set things right. But before we jump in, let's first put ourselves in the mindset of the people who would have read the book of John. Imagine you live in a world where you're being told that there are gods, like little g gods, who uphold the universe. And if you do what the gods want, they will bless you. Unless they just want to mess with you, and they have that right also. And these gods are responsible for every good and bad thing that has ever happened in the entire world. And so John starts his story with, in the beginning, to connect a person or a word to the beginning of everything. So take some time and read John 1 through 18. So this text shows us some significant things that we have to understand. The word in Greek here is logos, which means that the message or voice that God uses. It means so much more than that. It's the nature, the character, the person that communicates this message. In the beginning was the person that embodied a message. Colossians 1:15 through 17, Hebrews 1:3 identifies Christ as the one by whom the world was made. So there's three things that we must know about what John is saying here. First, the Word existed before the world. That means the Word wasn't created and wasn't the first of creation, or somehow a tool that was created in order to create. The Word existed before God began creating the world. Second, the Word was with God. God didn't search the universe to find a worthy servant to do his bidding. God didn't have to go find someone to save Israel. He didn't have to find a human who was righteous enough or perfect. He didn't have to have an angel who he thought was his favorite and made him the Messiah. The Word was with God. And so the Word existed before the world, and it existed with God. But lastly, the Word was God. John doesn't say that the Word became God, or that the Word was created as a God. It says that the Word was God. Now there's a great theological term that we use in reference to Jesus' nature. So why don't we head over to our theological corner and talk about it. The incarnation is a central theological term to the Christian faith. In fact, if you take the incarnation away, like some have tried to do, atonement crumbles. So let's start first with what it's not. It's not that God was half man and half God. It's not that there were two persons. It's not that Jesus became less God to be human, or was less human because of his godness. The incarnation is this, that Jesus was fully God and fully man at the same time, 100% and 100%. Wait. Hold up. That's not possible. You can't have 200%. Interesting thought, but I seem to remember a time when they couldn't have any more wine, or a man who couldn't control the demons inside, or Lazarus who just couldn't stay alive. Touché. The incarnation is shown through the tabernacle in the Old Testament. Okay, so after the Tower of Babel, after Abraham and his crazy family, then after Egypt and the Exodus, we begin to see a picture of how God is going to interact with humanity. In fact, God eventually tells Israel to build them a structure where they can go to find God. It'll move with them as they travel throughout the desert. When they get to the promised land, eventually they would build a permanent structure. It is to be the place where God can be with his people. It was first called a tabernacle and then called a temple. But it seems as if God had moved next door.
Hey, Jesus.
Hey, Kyle.
Iced coffee?
Nope, Dr. Pepper.
That's an interesting thought. Either way, the point is that God didn't let sin stop him from loving his people. He loved us through all the mess. In fact, he sent Jesus so that someday we wouldn't have to have the mess again. There will be no broken relationship between God and man. Jesus was willing to give his life on earth because God is not a God who operates from a distance. Jesus willingly took on human flesh to live among us so that he could fix the mess that Adam and Eve created and you and I continue. So this week, put yourself in someone else's shoes and think about what it would be like to come alongside them than rather operate from a distance.